First, I'd like to give you a little discussion of SCORE. My name is Anita Kayad. I'm a SCORE mentor in the Cleveland office, and delighted that you have decided to spend an hour with us this evening, learning more about social media. But let me tell you a little bit about SCORE. Our mission is to foster vibrant small business communities. We do this through mentoring and education. We hope that every single small business owner has the support that they need to be successful. I'm sure you're aware that small businesses drive the economy, both nationally and locally. In Cleveland, over the last few years, small businesses have just mushroomed and really revitalized the community. And we are very excited about that. SCORE has the largest network of free volunteer small business mentors. There are close to 11,000 mentors in over 250 chapters across the country. So almost every city of any size has a chapter. No matter what stage your business is or what kind of business you have, we are most likely going to be able to find a mentor with a background similar, because if we don't have someone in Cleveland who fits that criterion, then we have those other 11,000 that we can query to find someone who does have a similar background. We have many different types of entrepreneurs that we work with. We're very pleased that we have over 50% of our clients are women and approximately 10% are veterans. So the things that we offer are mentoring, I say tutoring, remotely mostly, although we are starting to do some in-person mentoring. We're also starting to do some in-person seminars again, but mostly what we're doing still is online. One of our most valuable resources is our website. There are many different kinds of tools and articles, templates, recorded webinars. There's a schedule of all our upcoming live webinars. So when you get a chance, go to our website and take a look at it. Our work is supported by the Small Business Administration, but also by many of the local companies that want to support entrepreneurs like you. So because of that, we're able to do what we do at no charge. This is a snapshot of our website. You can click on this Find a Mentor and fill out a short form. If you're clear about what kind of business you have and what kind of help you need, we can match you up as closely as possible with a mentor. Again, a listing of all our workshops and a library of recorded webinars, articles, tools, and templates. So I am going to stop sharing, and I'm going to let Diane Halbig, who is our speaker this evening and an expert on social media. So I'm going to let her take over, and welcome, Diane. It's lovely to have you again.
Thank you, Anita. It is great to be here with you and everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. We are going to be talking about social media, and as we're going through this conversation, it's a lot of information. As we're going through this conversation, as questions come to you, feel free to put them in the chat, or you can wait until the end. There's a time for questions. I just want to make sure we're getting to what you're interested in. I can tell you right now, there's no way I could tell you everything about social media, so I'm going to give you really pretty much what I consider to be the guidelines. Okay. So since this is a social media recipe, successful social media recipe, I decided to make this the ingredients that go into a successful social media strategy. And using the magic rule of three, pretty much there are three, and it's your audience or audiences, your message or messages, and the methods you will use to get those messages to those audiences. All right. So let's talk about your audience. In order to be successful using social media marketing, and frankly, any kind of marketing, you have to have a very clear idea of who your audience is. Who are you trying to reach? Now, over the years, as social media marketing has gotten deeper and broader and all those things, one of the things that we've come to realize is it's not so much about quantity as it is about the quality of the relationships. So in the past, before the internet, marketing was about broadcasting out to a huge pool and hoping that it would drill down. Well, social media pretty much flipped that funnel. And what we have is the best way to use social media marketing is to focus on the community that you already have and that you are building around your business. That's your audience. They care about your business. They want to hear from you. They're interested in what you have to say and what you've got going on. And they will share that information with their connections. So what we do with social media marketing is we focus on making sure that we are taking care of our community, understanding that then our community will grow because of word of mouth, referrals, sharing links, things like that. So when you think about your audience or your audiences, think about it in that way. Ask yourself, what does this community around my business really look like? And what do I want the community around my business to really look like? And then later we'll talk about what do they care about, because that gets to the messaging. And how do they consume that information? And part of the reason why your audiences are so important for you to understand is because when you know who they are, you know where they are. And it's not just where they are, it's where they are interacting online and will be open to your message. So for example, I work with small business owners mainly. And we could say that they're on Facebook because they probably are, but they're not necessarily on Facebook as small business owners. Typically, they're on Facebook as moms, sisters, friends, fill in the blank, sons, whatever. So that's typically how people engage on social media. It's a lot more social. So I have to really think about whether it makes sense for me to focus my time and energy on getting a message across on that platform, because it's not necessarily where they're going to hear it. They're there, but they're not necessarily listening for the kind of message that I'm putting out. All right. They might be, but the odds are they're more in that consumer brain, that human brain. So they aren't necessarily. So let's talk about those. There's a rule of thumb that says it's pretty much an 80-20 rule. 80% of what you share should be informational and educational. Okay. and entertaining. 20% can be about your business. None of it should be a sales pitch. And I'm going to say that again. None of it should be a sales pitch. Social media is not for selling. It's for marketing and connecting. So social media, right? Social network. Build your network. It's a social engagement. And you will have the opportunity to go through some sort of selling process down the road. But if you try selling on social media, you're going to turn people off. That's not why they're there, and it's not the message they want to be hearing from you. So when we talk about content, we're going to be talking about what sort of information can we be sharing that keeps our community engaged, keeps them around us, keeps them talking with us and talking about us. And then 20% of the time, as long as we're doing that 80% of the time, 20% of the time, we can be talking about our business. The question becomes, how do we talk about our business, right? And we'll talk about that in the content section. It's not going to be buy my widget. It could be, hey, we're having an event this weekend, or we're having a sale, come on in, or sign up for our newsletter and grab a coupon, something like that. It could be about an employee that you're spotlighting, or a customer that you're spotlighting, those sorts of things, but it's never going to be come buy my fill in the blank. All right. That's not how people buy. So, and if you think about how you buy, you're going to know that's not how people buy. So let's talk about those topics. I would like you to take a minute or two, and I will time you, to think about 3 to 5 topics or ideas or areas of interest that you could talk about, so to speak, on the social platforms. So it could be in a blog post, it could be in an update, it could be a LinkedIn article, it could be a combination, it could be an e-newsletter. Don't really worry about how it's going to show up. Right now, I want you to think about topics that you could share information on. So it could be things within your industry that other people don't know about. It could be areas of interest. Just give it some thought and write them down. And like I said, I'll give you a minute or two and we'll be quiet. I'm curious if anyone would like to share their 3 to 5 topics in the chat so we can see what you got. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to see the chat. I might need you to put it in the Q&A. For some reason, it looks like I can't necessarily see the chat.
Yeah, I can see it, but there's, oh, here, motivational quotes, industry news, travel and events.
Excellent.
Those are great. That's the only one I see. Trends in health and diet field, aquariums. Okay, survey for what the customers need. Features of company blog. Real estate investing, real estate market, how to get loans.
Those are great.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, these are great. And part of the reason they're great is because they're specific. And the reason why I'm asking you to do this is because when you go to figure out what you're going to share, where you're going to share it, how you're going to share it. Having these topics will help you identify the cadence, how you're going to share the information, and you can even drill down into subtopics. So for example, if one of mine is marketing, there's social media marketing, but I could even drill it down and say, maybe I'm going to write something about TikTok or video. So the more we can drill down, the easier it makes it for you to, when you have to sit down and actually create that content. So that's why we do it this way. Recipes. Ooh, recipes are good. Recipes are always good to share. All right, excellent. Thank you. So let's talk about how, and it's really how and where and what. So the first area of this is the different platforms, and I want to talk about these different platforms and their value. So we have Facebook. Facebook is, and one thing I'm going to say to you is, it's as of this conversation, because these platforms change all the time. They change the way they run their algorithms. The audiences also change. So there was a period of time where Facebook had just a huge range of members, people who are on the platform. Then that went through a change where the young people left because all of us were there and they didn't want to be there if we were there. Then they end up coming back when they're a little older. So, or they go to Instagram. So Facebook is great for companies that sell to consumers. So not business to business necessarily, but business to consumer. I will say, little time out here, a little disclaimer, you will see ads from companies in your feed that are marketing to your business. I see them all the time. And sometimes I click on them. Those are companies that have the bandwidth to do it. It's expensive. They're placing those ads specifically, and the more specific they are, and depending on the field, that can be a tremendously expensive venture. We're not going to talk about that today. We are going to talk about connecting, how can you use these platforms? So with Facebook, you can build a business page. It's separate from your personal page. Whatever you do on your personal page will not show up on your business page. So it's like there's a wall. Having said that, on all of these platforms, you want to decide who you are and how you're going to show up and what things you're willing to talk about and what things you're not willing to talk about. Because it connects to the decision about who's going to work with you and who you're going to work with. And what I'm going to say is for the most part, keep the personal out of the business side. And I'm talking about viewpoints, okay? What's going on with your family? You can talk about it a little bit on the business side, case by case basis, pretty much. So have a business page, fill it out, do the images the way they ask you to, and then post to it. We'll talk about content in a minute, but post to your page. Some people build Facebook groups. If you're going to build a Facebook group, those can be really valuable. My advice is make sure before you ever start it that you have built out a platform of conversation for at least 6 months. Because the thing about a Facebook group is there's got to be conversation going on in it. And you're the one who's going to have to start and nurture that conversation until it takes off. So having that ahead of time will help you be more successful. Be very clear about what the rules are. And if you have a group on Facebook, then as you meet people and connect with people, you're going to ask them if they would like to join, if it makes sense. So that's the other thing. You have to be really clear about who's in that group. What is that audience? And what information why would they be in the group? What information are they going to be getting in the group that they couldn't be getting someplace else? Okay. You can join groups. So, you can join pages of other groups. If you're in an association or an organization, they probably have a page. Follow it, like it. As a business page, you can like or follow other business pages, which is not a bad idea, because then you can be engaging with each other. Okay. The downside I find to the business pages on Facebook is that when people comment, it doesn't necessarily show up, or if you're tagged, it doesn't necessarily show up, and you have to go through the meta suite. This is one of the things that changes constantly, and it can get a little complicated. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have one. If you're selling business to consumer, you should absolutely have a Facebook page, business page. I'm going to go down to Twitter next. Twitter's an interesting platform. It's going through a lot of changes. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with it. For the longest time, it was the place to just share information. So you're going to share a link to an article, a link to a blog post, a link to a video. You're going to comment on other people's, you're going to follow people and they'll follow you, and you'll comment on their posts. It feels to me like Twitter has really changed lately, and there isn't a ton of engagement going on that is outside of the bigger voices, so the huge followings. And it's going through the changes with the check mark and what. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff, but you do have to decide if Twitter is the place where your audience is going to receive your message. And what I'm going to say to you is, if it's not, or you're not sure, leave it alone. Because what we don't want to do is load up on all the platforms just for the sake of loading up on all the platforms. It's not the best use of your time and energy. All right. Focus where your audience is. So LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where all the business people should be. It tends to be more business to business than business to consumer. Having said that, it's my very strong opinion that all business owners should have a LinkedIn profile. You don't have to have a LinkedIn business page if you're selling business to consumer, but you do need a profile. You need it filled out completely. My advice would be to follow some of these LinkedIn gurus like Sandra Long, and there's another one. I'm sorry, her name is completely skipping me. But if you Google, LinkedIn expert, these people come up because they will tell you exactly how to do your profile, exactly what you need in it, that sort of thing. And there's a lot of different ways that you can engage. So you can do updates like you do on all the platforms. You can write articles. On LinkedIn, you can put them on LinkedIn, and then LinkedIn will share them with people who have expressed an interest in that topic. You want to spend at least a little bit of time reading through your feed and commenting, reading the stuff people are saying, following the link, commenting deeper than, that's great, so that you are getting that engagement. And you want to be creating content that encourages engagement. And I heard something from someone the other day that so stuck with me, and it was follow, she said 50 is a lot, but let's say 10 to start with, influencers in your industry. Follow them on LinkedIn, because then they'll show up in your feed, and then comment meaningfully on their posts, because you will become known to them as well. And interesting opportunities present themselves when we do that. Then we have, excuse me, Instagram. And let me say something about LinkedIn. The age range is huge. The industries are huge. You will benefit your business greatly if you choose to spend some time there. And I'm not talking about a lot of time. I'm talking about structured time. The other thing about LinkedIn is it is a fabulous prospecting research tool. Not prospecting, but prospecting research, because you can, if you sell business to business, you can learn a ton about your prospects before you ever reach out to them, which is one of the keys to successful prospecting. So the more people you are genuinely connected to on LinkedIn, and when I say genuinely, I mean, you know them, you have something, some sort of connection to them as first connections, the more people you're potentially connected to, because you're one away from their connections. And when you do your prospecting research, when you see that you're connected to someone you want to meet, you can ask for the introduction. So, and warm introductions are always better than cold prospecting. All right. So now let's go to Instagram. So Instagram is hot. It is really hot with the younger generations. If your audience is on the younger side, you absolutely want to be on Instagram and you want to learn about reels and stories. And it's, you know, a lot of video, image. It's more video and images. The interesting thing about Instagram is the links that you share aren't live. So you need to make sure your profile is filled out with links and that you remind people in your posts that they can access whatever it is through those links. So if you were going to share links to your content, you'd want it to be like on your blog, on your website. So that would be a link in your profile to make it easy for people to go. So that's one of the weird things about Instagram. But it's valuable because it's visual. And there's a whole demographic that's over there learning and doing business over there. All right. Now, I don't have TikTok on here, which is, whoops, slightly surprising, because it's still weird for business. So there are some small business people using TikTok. I don't know how effectively they're using it. Like I know a CPA who uses it. I don't know if it's actually having the impact that they want it to have. And if you've watched the news, you know, TikTok's going through some weird stuff in this country. So I'm going to say, you know, depending on your audience, I think your audience would have to be fairly young, like teen, early 20s young, for TikTok to end up being a valuable platform, which is why I didn't really spend any time on it. It's still too sort of out there. Google My Business. Everyone should have a Google My Business page because Google is the main search engine still. So when you have a Google My Business page, Google's going to help promote that. And you're going to show up more in searches when you have a Google My Business page. Having said that, you don't have to post a lot to that page. You just have to post like maybe once a week with either news about the business or a sale or an event or whatever it is, so that there is content flowing through that page. If you work out of your home like I do, it's okay. You can put your city, you don't have to put your address in there. Or you can go get a mailbox and use that. But you can put your hours in there. You can put a link to your website in there. You can do all the things that Google looks for, and you can see that your search results will improve. YouTube. YouTube is still a great platform because of the videos. You can do shorts, so you can do shorter videos. You can do longer videos. I wouldn't go much over, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes because people's attention spans aren't great. But you can build a whole library and a whole audience around YouTube. Like everything else, it has to have structure. It's got to have consistency. But the great thing about YouTube is it's the second most search engine on the internet. So everyone goes to YouTube to find stuff. So you want to be showing up if you can. Then we have podcasts. And podcasts are a fascinating social media marketing tool. There's two sides. There's being the podcast host, and there's being the guest. I'm not going to say a whole lot about being the host. I'm a podcast host. I have been for 13 years. It's a whole endeavor. So it's a whole other animal. It takes a whole lot of thought and whatnot. Having said that, being a guest on podcasts is one of the best social media marketing tactics out there, because it puts you in front of a whole other audience. It is content that you can repurpose. It's links that you can share, and it helps build your authority. Now, some of the keys to being a podcast guest star, you have to make sure that it's relevant to your business. Don't go pitching to everybody. Do your research. You want to make sure you have a good mic, quiet place. Some of them do video, some of them don't. So, you need to find that out as well. And if they do video, you're going to have good lighting. And follow their guidelines, because every host has guidelines, and you want to make sure that you are following them. But they'll promote it, you'll promote it. It is really great content that you could be creating for your business. Just want to check the chat real quick. Yes, thank you. So Google My Business is free. Quite frankly, all of these are free. And what I've been talking to you about, and I will continue to talk to you about, is the free side of all of these things. If you are interested in being a guest on podcasts, you can do your research yourself. You can sign up on something like podmatch.com, Podbookers. There's a bunch of them. Podmatch seems to be a pretty good platform, and I'm pretty confident that it's free. Just make sure that you are doing your outreach well to the podcast host. But you can always do your own research. Just put in whatever your industry is and podcast and see what comes up, and then go to their podcast page. Read about the podcast. Do they even take guests? And then listen to some episodes so you can get a feel for how they engage. So that then when you reach out to them, you have something you can say to them, like, I've been listening to your podcast. It's great, blah, blah, blah. And the last one I'm going to talk about is blogging / e-newsletter. Blogging is a tremendously valuable social media marketing platform, because if it's attached to your website, it helps you draw people to your website, which is always a good thing. Blog posts don't have to be long. You just have to get whatever point across you want to. There should be a level of consistency with doing it. And then you can share the link to the blog post in your different social platforms. You can also repurpose it or reuse it. You could repost an entire blog post, like on LinkedIn articles, as long as you include a statement that says something like, this article was originally published on, such and such blog on this date, with a link to it. Because if you don't do that, then Google will ding you for having duplicate content in two different places, and your website will get the first. Okay. So these are, I mean, there's a lot more that is potentially involved with these things. One of the things I know for certain is this, especially when you are starting out with social media marketing, pick one platform and the one where you think your audience is most, and you will create your strategy and you'll just work that platform until you get really used to it and really good at it. And then you can add in the other ones. You are not going to add in all of them because you potentially don't need to be on all of them. And you want to make sure that the efforts that you put out are really, have an impact. And so if it's not going to have an impact over here, don't do it. Use your time, use your energy where it's going to have the biggest bang. Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about content. So you can write posts, you can do videos. Videos are huge. You can, now, if you're going to do a video, you have to have some sort of written content with it because Google can't index video. You can't search video. So you have to make sure that you have the words with it, or you're missing out on that, optimizing that content. Okay. Writing with an image is something like 64% more. This is a terrible way of saying this. I have to change it. Text with images is read 64% more than text alone because it's the image that draws. But images don't need to have a whole lot of words in them. That's one of the things people do, is they stick a whole lot of words in the images. It's lost. It doesn't do any good. Put the words in the text because that's what people are gonna grab. Okay. You can share events that you have going on, or something that's coming up, announcements around your business, around your employees. If you have a new product line coming out, or you hire someone new, or you just want to spotlight employees, maybe you want to spotlight clients, you can do that as well. And think about the kinds of questions that people ask you. So if it's clients that ask you, or people who reach out on Facebook and ask you a question, think about those questions, because what that tells you is that's what people want to know. And you can use those questions to create content. Having said that, content should be engaging. So if you can create your content in a way that then you can ask a question, and you can start getting people responding and engaging with your posts, more and more people see it, because whoever's connected to that person who commented, their connections then become aware of you. Okay. I'm going to take a quick step and see what questions I got. What are some tips for driving engagement when you are shy, or really better with in-person engagement? It's a great question. So this is one of these places where you can do like a survey. You can say, you can do a yes or no sort of question and get people to engage. You can think about something that you would want to know from your community. So maybe you're getting ready to do an event or launch a new product, or like when I was writing my book, I went out and said, listen, I'm putting the finishing touches on my book. What would you want to learn in a sales book? And I got replies from people. So, it's that sort of, the more engaging your posts are, the more whatever platform you're on notices it, and then will elevate, will get your content in front of other people as well, because they can tell that you are somewhat of an influencer, so to speak. You're getting that engagement. Think about things you want to know from your community. Think about things they've wanted to know, and then answer those questions And you know what? You don't have to do video. You can just write an update. Just make sure it's a little longer than, a quick, write something about an experience that you had in your business, or something you learned, or a challenge you overcame in your business. There's a lot of different kinds of things. One piece of advice I will give you is consider the content that you like to read. And what is it? How are people, what are they writing about? How are they writing about it? What are they putting out there? And then that gives you an idea of the kind of content that you should be putting out. I will say, stay true to yourself. Don't try and be anybody else. Don't try to write like anybody else. Don't try and do video like anybody else, because people buy from people they trust. And the only way they're going to trust you is when you are you. Okay. So just be you, communicate the way that you do, start out small. This is one of the reasons why I say you should just, start out small and let yourself build. Because when you see the sort of engagement you're getting, you can also ask your close associates to engage with your posts. Like you can say the people who you really trust, you can say to them, I'm going to be putting these posts out, and I'm wondering if you do me a huge favor. Can you go to my page? Can you read it? Can you comment on it? Can you help me get some of this flow and this momentum going? A lot of people will do that for you. Okay. Other questions about this, but before I move on, I take a drink of water. All right, then I'm going to keep going. All right, let's go to cadence. And what I mean is, when the heck are you going to do this? How are you going to do it? That's the other question I get a lot. How much time does this take? How do I do it? Whatever. Okay. There are a lot of different things you can do. One of the suggestions I'm going to make is lay out a calendar. You can start with just a quarter, so 13 weeks. Lay out a calendar in front of you. And once you've decided where you're going to engage, decide what days you want to engage. So some people will do Tip Tuesday. Some people will do Motivation Monday. You don't have to have cute titles to them. You could just say to yourself, I'm going to post every Tuesday and Friday. And what I'm going to post on Tuesday is an inspirational message. And what I'm going to post on Friday is a recipe. Okay. Now I know. I'm posting twice. This is what I'm doing on Tuesday. This is what I'm doing on Friday. And I can schedule it out. I can decide this is the recipe I'm going to do here. I can go gather all of my inspirational tips so that I've got them. So I'm ready. Okay. What does your schedule look like? There has been conversation over the years about, depending on the platform, how frequently you should be posting. And I'm going to say to you, none of that matters, in my opinion. You make the decision about what you're going to do. And as long as you're consistent, the rest of it doesn't matter. Start small, start slow. If you're going to do an e-newsletter, do it once a month. Decide what you're going to put in there. Create a couple months ahead so you give yourself a head start. And then you can post them. I mean, you can create them and schedule them to go out ahead of time, right? So you don't have to do it like in the moment, which is going to lead me to another thing, but I want to see what we've got here. Great. So Nicole, she's using monday.com. That is great. And actually, thank you so much, Nicole. It's a great segue because it leads me into dashboards, right? there are all sorts of, I'm going to call them dashboards for lack of a better word, that make it possible for you to create your content and schedule it to go out on that Tuesday and Friday. All right. There's buffer.com, which for up to 3 profiles is free. There's monday.com, there's Social Pilot, there's Buzzworthy. My gosh, there's Keep, there's a ton. Zoho, I think, has one. I mean, there's Hootsuite, there's all sorts of platforms, dashboards, and they vary in investment. Most of them are tremendously reasonable and worth the money, depending on what you're getting from them. Okay. So if you want to be able to respond to somebody right from the dashboard, then it's what you're going to want is something that's a little more robust. If all you want to do is be able to post to your profiles, something a little simpler will suffice. Okay. So explore them. I just think they are tremendously worth it. It doesn't mean that you don't want to engage in real time, because you do. And that's where engagement comes in. Part of your effort and your energy and your putting on your calendar has to include you going to those profiles and engaging with your community. So if LinkedIn is your primary spot, you're going to want to say, every other day or every morning and every evening, or starting out, once a week, twice a week. I'm going to go to my LinkedIn. I'm going to read through my feed, because people don't post a ton to LinkedIn. So there's not real far you have to go. I'm going to read what people are talking about. I'm going to look at my notifications. I'm going to engage with my community. So people know there's a real human here, and I'm there. Okay. You may even want to take that time to post something live. So you've got your dashboard and it's doing its thing. There's real value in actually posting directly to whatever platform it is that you're spending time on. All right. These 3 things are important. They are really critically important to the success of your social media marketing, because if you start and you stop, you're not going to be able to build up that momentum. And if you try to do too much, you're going to get overwhelmed, and then you're going to do nothing. It's really about the consistency. Consistency is a lot more important, because remember, it's about your small community. It's not about the broader community, the strangers, so much. Okay. You can do ads if you want. I'm not going to talk about ads today, because I think if you do this personal engagement, people buy from people. Get out there, start engaging with people, ask them questions, learn from them, educate them. Selling will take care of itself, but you'll continue to build that community around your business. And remember that you can take some of your content, like a blog post or an e-newsletter or a LinkedIn article, and you can repurpose those things. You can grab a paragraph out of it and make it a post on Facebook. You can, if it's a blog post, take the first paragraph or a description of what you're talking about, stick it in an update with the link. Okay. There's all sorts of ways that you can create content once and then reuse it. And the last thing I'm going to say about that before I look at the chat and see what's going on there is you can use it over and over again. So you could take one piece of content and you could schedule it to go out different days and different times over 3 months, because different people are going to see it. Different people are going to be online. Different people, they're not going to not, you're not doing it every day, all day long. If you sort of schedule it out there, people are going to see it who didn't see it the first time. So you can absolutely do a lot with content. Okay. Yes, that's right, Linda. Meta Business Suite will allow you to schedule posts to both your platforms, and you're absolutely right about that. And it's great because then you're doing Facebook and Instagram. You can do them both at the same time. You don't have to, but you absolutely can. Very good point. Okay, great. So, oops, I just missed another. Yeah, really, you're so right about that. Okay, so more questions. I want to make sure that, I've given you a ton of information, and as Anita said, we'll send you the slides in a PDF, and I believe there's a video of this, so you can re-listen to it. It's a lot of information, which is why I say start out small, grab one thing, don't let it overwhelm you. Pick a topic you want to talk about, put it out on a calendar. Oh, there was one other suggestion I had. You can go to, I think it's nationalday.com. You can look at like holidays throughout the year, but you can also look at those national days. And so as you plan your content calendar is really what you're doing, you can pick different things that might be something that then you could post as long as there's like a connection to your business. One suggestion I will add to that is pick the odd ones, like National Hot Dog Day, because the usual ones everyone is doing. But if you pick some of the odd ones, like did you know today is, it's not, but I'm just going to say, today is a National Ice Cream Day. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? Mine is mint chocolate chip. Hashtag, well, that's the other thing, use hashtags. So I'm going to do a quick primer on hashtags. Don't use more than 3, unless you're on Instagram, then you can use a million. But when you use hashtags that have something to do with the content of what you're talking about in your post, when other people are looking for that topic, your post will come up, which provides you with other eyes. Okay. So whatever you're talking about, like if I'm talking about social media marketing, I'm going to have a hashtag social media marketing. I'm going to have a hashtag small business. I'm going to have a hashtag business growth. Let's just say those are my 3. People are out there all over the internet searching for these keywords. It's really what they are, they're keywords. So when they search for it, you want your posts to be included, and just having just the post isn't going to do it as much as adding the the hashtags to it. So, oh, thanks, David. I appreciate it. So, questions? Now that I just gave you way more information than you were looking for. What happens if you use more than 3? You know what, Carly? Nothing is going to happen except the people who read it are going to get annoyed. All right. So it's not like you're not going to get punished for having more than 3, but it really annoys people on certain platforms when there's more than 3, because they feel like they're keyword stuffing the post. And you don't want to be seen as the person who's just trying to get the social engine optimization routine with it. So that's all. That's why on Instagram you could use a ton, because no one cares on Instagram. Absolutely. Other questions, comments, ideas, anything I didn't touch on, which I'm sure there's just a ton that you have a question about, and we can see if I have an answer.
Again, we are going to be sending a link to the recording so you can go and watch it over and over and over till you capture all the information.
Exactly. That's right.
So,
And if you want to reach out to me, you can use the QR code, or you can just go to talkwithdiane.com. You can schedule time. I'm happy to talk to anybody and see if I can answer your questions.
super. Well, thank you so much, Diane. This has been, as always, a wonderful session, and I certainly thank all of you who joined us this evening. I think you have learned something, at least I believe you have, and hope that you'll find it useful in your business.
Me too.
Also, hope that you will enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yes.
And thank you